not let them through!
History is written by the victors, but sometimes it is written in advance by a single, invisible hand. June 6, 1944, D-Day, the largest amphibious invasion in human history. The Allies stormed the beaches of Normandy. We see this moment as inevitable, a foregone conclusion. But it wasn't. The entire operation, the fate of the free world, balanced on a knife edge. It succeeded not just because of the bravery of the soldiers, but because of a ghost, a phantom, a single man who was, at that very moment, telling Adolf Hitler exactly where the invasion wasn't. And Hitler believed him. This is the story of the most elaborate, most successful, and most pivotal deception in the history of warfare. It is the story of a man who invented a phantom army of 27 spies, became Germany's most trusted agent in Britain, and was personally awarded the Iron Cross by the Third Reich, all while working for the Allies. He is the spy who saved D-Day, the spy Hitler couldn't find, couldn't stop, and ultimately couldn't erase from the narrative. This is the story of Juan Pujol Garcia, codenamed Garbo. Act 1. The Making of a Nobody. To understand the spy, you must first understand the man. And to all appearances, the man was a spectacular failure. Born in Barcelona in 1912, Juan Pujol Garcia was not a soldier. He was not a politician. He was not a ruthless operative. He was, by all accounts, a dreamer, a talker, a man with a deep philosophical hatred of extremism forged in the crucible of the Spanish Civil War. He had been a student, a soldier on both sides of that brutal conflict, managing to desert from each, and most notably, a failed chicken farmer. His poultry business collapsed, he would later recall, because his chickens simply refused to cooperate with his grand utopian vision for their lives. You have to understand, Pujol was an idealist. The Spanish Civil War destroyed his faith in the isms. He saw the horror of Franco's fascism and the brutality of Stalin's communism. When World War II broke out, he didn't see it as Britain versus Germany. He saw it as humanity versus chaos. He felt, in his words, a profound duty to contribute to the good of mankind. But what can a failed chicken farmer do? He was managing a rundown hotel in Madrid when he decided he would not fight with a gun. He would fight with his mind. He would become a spy. In 1941, he walked into the British embassy in Madrid. He offered his services to MI6. He explained his profound desire to fight the Nazis. They almost laughed him out of the room. Who was he? A Spaniard with no connections, no military training, no access to anything. He was a nobody. He was rejected. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. The British told him, flatly, that the war did not require his services. MI6 was a bureaucracy. They wanted people with access. They wanted diplomats, military attachés, shipping magnates. They did not want eccentric Spanish hotel managers. Pujol was exactly the kind of person they were trained to ignore. A normal person would have gone home. But Juan Pujol Garcia was not a normal person. He was, above all, a man of profound, almost delusional self-belief. If the British wouldn't hire him to spy on the Germans, he would find another way. He would make himself so valuable that they had to hire him. His plan was audacious. It was insane. It was, quite frankly, stupid. He decided to get hired by the Germans first. He marched into the German embassy in Madrid, posing as a fanatic Francoist and a loyal Nazi sympathizer. He told them he was a Spanish government official who could travel to London on official business. He offered to spy for the Third Reich. The Abwehr, German military intelligence, was far less discerning than the British. They saw a zealous, well-spoken fascist. They took the bait. They trained him in the basic arts of espionage, a simple numerical code, how to make invisible ink, and a few $100s. They gave him his codename, Arbel. His mission? Go to London, establish a network of agents, and report back on everything. There was only one problem. Juan Pujol Garcia had no intention of going to London. He had no way of getting to London. He took the money, the code book, and the invisible ink and moved to Lisbon, Portugal. And from a small, stuffy apartment in Lisbon, Arbel, Hitler's newest master spy, began to invent. Act 2. The Making of a Phantom Army. Juan Pujol had never been to Britain. He spoke almost no English. He knew nothing of its military, its culture, or its geography. To the Abwehr, however, he was their man in London, and he needed to send them intelligence. So he did what he did best. He improvised. He went to the library. He bought a blue guide tourist map of Britain. He found a Portuguese to English dictionary, and he studied old British railway timetables. And he read with rapt attention the shipping news in the local papers. From these scraps, he built a world. He wrote his reports in Spanish, had them translated, and then laboriously encoded them. He described with thrilling detail his observations from London. He sent reports from Glasgow, claiming the people there were drunken and would do anything for a liter of wine, a detail that amused his future British handlers, but which the Germans dutifully filed away. He fabricated a network. He told his German handlers he had recruited a network of agents. This network included a disgruntled waiter in London, a nationalist Welshman who hated the English, a high-ranking official in the Ministry of Information, and a Dutch KLM pilot. He was a one-man spy ring, writing fiction, and the Abwehr ate it up. They were so impressed with the volume of his reports, they urged him to use the more expensive and faster invisible ink. The Germans were desperate for agents in Britain. After the war, we learned that every single German agent sent to Britain had been captured and either executed or turned by MI5. The Abwehr's entire network was a failure. They needed Arbel to be real. They were blinded by their own confirmation bias. But this charade could not last. In 1942, Pujol nearly destroyed his own creation. He read in the Lisbon papers that a large convoy of Allied ships was sailing from Liverpool. He decided this was the perfect intelligence coup. He composed a frantic, detailed message to the Abwehr, listing the ships, their armaments, and their departure time. The Germans were ecstatic. They launched a massive U-boat operation to intercept and destroy the convoy. For days, the North Atlantic was hunted by wolf packs. They found nothing. Because Pujol, getting his information from newsreels and papers, had sent his report after the convoy had already arrived at its safe destination. In Berlin, there was fury. Had Arbel been exposed? Was he a fraud? No. The German High Command came to a different conclusion. The report was too detailed to be fake. The convoy was real. Therefore, the failure must lie not with their master spy, but with their U-boat captains. Several were reprimanded. John Pujol, by failing spectacularly, had cemented his reputation as an infallible source. Meanwhile, the British were noticing something very strange. MI5 had been intercepting Arbel's messages. They were baffled. They knew they had captured all German agents. Who was this man, and why was he feeding the Germans such obvious and sometimes comical nonsense? But they also noticed something crucial. The Germans were believing him. They were moving assets, launching operations, and wasting resources, all based on the fantasies of a man in Lisbon. At the same time, Pujol was growing desperate. His fictional network was demanding more money than the Germans were sending him. He was tired of the act. He had proven his point. He went again to the British. This time, he didn't go to the embassy. He went to the Americans. He told a U.S. naval attaché that he was a German spy who wanted to defect. The Americans, baffled, passed him to their British counterparts. In April 1942, MI5 agents met this mysterious Arbel in a Lisbon cafe. They expected a cunning, hardened German operative. They found a small, animated, slightly frantic Spaniard with a briefcase full of tourist maps and a head full of incredible stories. MI5 finally understood. This wasn't a German spy. This was a gift from God. On April 24, 1942, Juan Pujol Garcia was smuggled into Great Britain. He was given a new life, a new handler, a brilliant MI5 officer named Thomas Harris, and a new code name. They called him Garbo, because he was, they said, the greatest actor in the world. Act 3, the greatest show on Earth. When Garbo arrived in London, the first thing he did was confirm what he already knew. He was a terrible spy. He told his handler, Tommy Harris, that he was worried about his network. Harris, playing along.
At 3 a.m. on June 6, just hours before the landings, Garbo sent his masterpiece. His message informed the Germans that invasion was imminent. Then, the landings began. At 6:30 a.m., troops hit the beaches of Normandy. In Berlin, there was chaos. Was this the invasion? Or was it a trick? Garbo let them sweat. Then, on June 9th, 3 days after D-Day, he sent his most important message of the war. He confirmed to the Germans that his network had met. He confirmed that the Normandy landings were, just as he had warned, a diversion, a feint. Its purpose was to draw German reserves away from the real target. The real invasion, he insisted, was still being prepared by Patton's FUSA, and it would strike, just as they had always known, at Pas de Calais. This is a crucial moment. Hitler had 24 panzer and infantry divisions, the entire 15th Army, sitting at Pas de Calais. His generals on the ground like Rommel were begging him to release them to Normandy. They could have crushed the beachhead. But Hitler and his high command hesitated. Why? Because Arabelle, their most trusted agent, was telling them to stay put. For weeks after D-Day, Hitler held the 15th Army in place. He waited for a second invasion that would never come. He waited for Patton's Phantom Army. Those weeks were all the Allies needed. They solidified their beachhead. They poured in men and materiel. By the time Hitler finally realized there was no FUSA, that Pas de Calais was a ghost, it was too late. The foothold in Europe was secure. Juan Pujol Garcia, the failed chicken farmer, had saved D-Day. The Germans never figured it out, not once. On July 29, 1944, with the Allies already breaking out of Normandy, the Third Reich sent a message. They were awarding their most brilliant agent, Arabelle, the Iron Cross. The medal was for extraordinary services to the German war effort. Hitler himself had personally authorized the award. On December 5, 1944, with his work complete, Juan Pujol Garcia was awarded the MBE, Member of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire by King George VI. He is, to this day, the only person to receive high-level decorations from both sides of the Second World War. Act 4. The Spy Who Vanished. The war ended. Europe was in ruins. And Juan Pujol Garcia was a man in an impossible position. He was a hero to the Allies, but Arabelle was a traitor to the Nazis. And with so many high-ranking Nazis escaping, he was a marked man. He was also despised by the communists, whom he had also tricked during the Spanish Civil War. He was perhaps the most successful double agent in history, and now he just wanted to disappear. MI5, in its final service to Garbo, agreed to help him. In 1949, Juan Pujol Garcia died. The official story, fed to his few remaining contacts, was that he had contracted malaria on a trip to Angola and died. His handler, Tommy Harris, helped finalize the details. the greatest actor in the world took his final bow. Garbo was dead. Arabelle was a traitor's ghost. And Juan, with a new identity and a new passport, moved to Venezuela. He opened a small bookstore and gift shop. He married. He had children. He lived a life of total, crushing, and peaceful anonymity. He told no one, not his wife, not his children. For 40 years, the man who saved D-Day lived as a simple shopkeeper. It's an astonishing act of discipline. To know you were at the epicenter of history, that you personally influenced the outcome of the war, and to tell no one, to just go back to a normal life, it speaks volumes about his character. He didn't do it for fame or glory, he did it because he believed it was the right thing to do. For decades, Garbo was just a code name in classified files, a legend whispered about by intelligence historians. One of those historians was Nigel West. West was obsessed with the Garbo case. He couldn't believe the story, and unlike everyone else, he didn't believe Garbo was dead. He saw the death in Angola as just one more piece of theatrical misdirection. For years, West hunted for clues. He was a detective searching for a ghost. Finally, in 1984, he got a lead. He traced a name, followed a trail, and flew to Lagunillas, Venezuela. He walked into a small bookstore, and there, behind the counter, he found a mild-mannered, bespectacled 72-year-old man. He asked, "Are you Juan Pujol Garcia?" The ghost had been found. The world was stunned. The British government, forced to declassify his files, confirmed the story. It was all true. In 1984, on the 40th anniversary of D-Day, Juan Pujol Garcia returned to the beaches of Normandy. He was received as a guest of honor. He walked the sands, weeping, surrounded by the soldiers whose lives he had saved. He toured the graveyards, the thousands upon thousands of white crosses, and he finally saw firsthand the weight of his fiction. He died, for real this time, in 1988. The title of this documentary is The Forgotten Spy Hitler Couldn't History. It's a strange phrase, but to history can mean to record, to control, to define. Adolf Hitler was a man obsessed with his own legacy, with historying a new 1,000-year Reich. He wanted to write the future, but he was stopped. He was defeated. He was outwitted by a man who wasn't a soldier, a man who wasn't even, by any reasonable definition, a spy. He was beaten by a failed chicken farmer, a man who understood that you can't always control reality, but you can control the perception of it. Juan Pujol Garcia didn't just fight the war, he wrote it. He fed Hitler a false history, a false narrative, and the dictator, so convinced of his own destiny, believed every word. Hitler couldn't history Garbo, because Garbo historied him.